Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nerd Nest. On today's episode, I want to talk about three things. Number one, huge SteamOS news. Number two, I want to talk about why people might still be interested in the Steam machine even after Valve unveiled the price yesterday. And then number three, I want to talk about the Steam frame. Let's get back to that first topic, though. SteamOS. There's huge news for SteamOS that got ridiculously overshadowed by the Steam machine price announcement. Yesterday, Valve unveiled the price of the Steam machine, and the reviews for it based on that price are almost universally bad.
Didn't look particularly powerful on paper, but that's okay, providing it's a good value option. Now we've got the price. I'm not sure it's got that going for it in the way we might have hoped.
First reaction when I found out the price, and keep in mind, I'd been testing this thing for about a week before they landed on a price and let me know. But when I found out, I was like, what? $1,049 for a system that has 8 gigs of VRAM? Like, that seems crazy.
But this is a premium price, even though I wouldn't say it's a premium product.
But because the price of the Steam machine became such a big story, I felt like there was another piece of news that Valve released that completely was overlooked by everyone. But something that everyone should absolutely make sure that they don't overlook is the sponsor of today's episode, Habata. This chair is the Habata X7 Smart Ergonomic chair, and it's awesome. Most chairs ask you to adapt to them, but the X7 adapts to you. Sitting all day is something that way too many of us do. At work, I stand all day, but the moment that I get home, I'm sitting down to play a game, or sitting down to watch a movie, or sitting down to edit a video. And when you're sitting, you tend to readjust a lot. Your back moves all over the place, and the X7 responds to your movements 1,000 times per second. This means that if you adjust the way that you're sitting, the chair adjusts to you. If you lean forward, the backrest pushes forward to support you. If you lean back, it backs off and gives you the room that you need. This is the first time that I have ever had a chair that moved with me automatically. And that lumbar system that I was just telling you about, it has a built-in 8D biometric massager plus a 3-level warm spa heat energy. I tend to get home from work before my wife, but when she does get home, she usually comes straight to my office and says, "Hey, can I sit in that chair?" Because the X7 is the only chair that has a built-in spa break. It also has a 4D dual access headrest and 720-degree omni mechanical arms, as well as a 144 precision recline. And with those features, you can be sure that you're always going to be sitting comfortably in the X7. But we're coming up on summer, so I want to tell you about my favorite feature for this chair. The chair has a dual fan active airflow. If you're getting warm, turn on the fan and cool off instantly. Say goodbye to summer swamp and say hello to comfort. Check out the link in the description and use my code at checkout to support the channel. Now, back to the episode. The overlooked news that nobody's talking about right now is the fact that SteamOS 3.8 is now available, and Valve says you can go ahead and put it on any AMD hardware that you want. Basically, it is now SteamOS for everyone as long as you're not running Nvidia. And sure, you've been able to do that for a while. You have been able to install SteamOS on just about any hardware, but it was unsupported. And for me, I wanted to wait until it was fully supported. I didn't want to install something that Valve wasn't 100% sure about. So up until now, I've been running Bazite, and Bazite is really close to being like SteamOS. Like, they are so similar. I won't say that they're exactly the same, because I'm sure that there's some very significant distinctions between them. But for the most part, for my use case, they are identical. Yesterday, Valve posted this. It says Steam machine launches today. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing because I'm sure that you guys have already seen that. But I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom of that post. And it says right here, this is the actual key. It says, if I don't get a Steam machine right away, is there anything else that I can do? Here's what Valve says. Thanks to the openness of the PC platform, there are lots of options for devices that will allow you to run games natively or streamed to your TV. There are many PC sites and communities out there that can help you with that. For our part, We are continuing to work towards enabling SteamOS to be used on more hardware than just ours. In fact, with the newly released SteamOS 3.8, you can run the same code and operating system as the Steam machine on your own living room PC using whatever PC parts you want. They do say, however, right now, only AMD GPUs are supported, but we're working on expanding that support in the future. And if you click on the link in the bottom of the update post, it's going to take you to this page right here, and it says SteamOS installation and repair. If you scroll down under beta SteamOS support, it now says AMD discrete GPUs. So if you are running a system that has an AMD GPU, you can install SteamOS 3.8 on that system, and it would be basically like having a Steam machine anyway. Valve has made it so that anybody can roll their own Steam machine, and it's one of the things that I think is awesome about Valve is their openness and the fact that they just allow you to install this stuff wherever. You don't have to buy SteamOS. It is free. It's Linux. Proton comes in bundled in automatically, so you don't have to worry about making sure all of that works, and I'm really excited to try it out. But then underneath that, they have the directions for how you actually install SteamOS. And I'm here to tell you it's a really, really simple process. But one thing I want to make absolutely sure that everybody who's watching this is aware of, this is AMD cards only. So if you have an Nvidia GPU, which if you are, most people have Nvidia GPUs, then you're not going to be able to use this. And Valve has said that, they are working on expanding support in the future. So I fully do expect that at some point in the future, the SteamOS will support NVIDIA GPUs. Right now, it doesn't. Why not? Mostly because of NVIDIA. Valve is trying to make an open platform. So they're building everything on Linux, which is open source. And right now, NVIDIA is playing their cards really close to the chest. They don't want everything to be open source. They want to control the stuff that they are making. And I can understand that, but I hope that some kind of agreement can come together between Valve and NVIDIA to get these cards fully supported on SteamOS, because that could make a huge change for how people are playing games moving forward. All right, next up, I want to talk about why people might still want to get the Steam machine. The Steam machine, we've been waiting to find out how much this thing is going to cost for about 7 months at this point, and we finally got the price yesterday. It was $1,050 for the 512 version that does not come with a controller. That is a tall ask. And on my live stream yesterday, basically I said that this price is not a shocker to me with what everything that's happening with AI data centers gobbling up all of the RAM. The price of RAM and the price of storage has gone up exponentially pretty much everywhere. And because of that, Valve is kind of stuck in a really tight spot. They don't have a whole lot of wiggle room here. A company like Sony can buy a huge amount of RAM. They can buy a huge amount of all kinds of parts because they've been doing this hardware platform strategy for a very, very long time. And because they've been in hardware for a very, very long time, they have all of these relationships with the companies that make the parts that they need for their PlayStations. Valve is pretty much brand new at this, and getting those relationships is proving to be a really tough thing for Valve. I think I saw in an article, and don't quote me on this because I'm doing this from memory and I'm going to try and find it after I record, but one thing that I saw was that Valve was pretty much trying to get people to sell them RAM, but they would only allow them to buy it if they were buying so much. And Valve knows that the number of people who are going to be buying a Steam machine, that's a relatively small number of people. It's a very niche device. Whether you think it's cool or not is completely irrelevant to whether or not it's niche. The Steam machine is a niche device. I'm in that niche. I wanted it, but I'm going to have to pass now. But because it's such a niche device, they know that they're not going to be making millions and millions and millions of these things. So they don't want to buy millions and millions and millions of the parts that they need to go into these things, because then they're going to have product sitting on warehouse shelves, not moving because it's a niche device. So Valve had to basically say no to a bunch of suppliers that otherwise might be able to have supplied them with the RAM. And because of this, the price for RAM for them is higher than it is for other companies that can buy things in huge swaths of inventory. You know what I mean? But that is a long way to say the Steam Machine is more expensive than it really should be. I understand that the market conditions now dictate that Valve has to price it the way that they are, but I'm sure that they are not happy about it any more than you and I are not happy about the price of the Steam Machine. It's high enough that I decided not to buy it, but there's a lot of people out there that still want one. And I was curious why people would still want one at this price level. And it all comes down to the number is, and this isn't necessarily for the price, but the number, when I'm talking about performance, doesn't paint the entire picture when it comes to hardware sometimes. Sometimes people want something not because it's the best, but because it's the best for them. So let's list off the things about the Steam Machine that might still be appealing to people despite the price being so high. Number one, the form factor. When you look at PCs, they're generally very large devices. When you look at consoles, they're generally very small devices. When somebody is deciding something that they want to put into their living room and have sit in a room where people are always gathering and seeing these things, they might want something that is not a giant monstrosity sitting underneath the TV making all kinds of noise. That's where the very small form factor comes in. And the Steam Machine is this nice, quiet, black little cube that doesn't call attention to itself. And sure, it has a little LED on the front, but you have the ability to go in and turn that off, which is something that I would actually end up doing, other than like have it show me downloads, because I think that's kind of cool. But I feel like a lot of people looking at the Steam Machine wanted it because A, it looked cool and would sit under the TV without calling attention to itself, and basically be this nondescript box that doesn't jump out at you and say, hey, look at me, I play video games. That's something that does appeal to a lot of people. And if you look at the PlayStation 5, my biggest complaint about I have quite a few complaints about the PlayStation 5, even though I like it a lot. My biggest complaint about it, though, is the fact that the PlayStation 5 is freaking hideous. And I've said 1,000 times, Sony, just make a black rectangle that I can put underneath my TV and never have to think about again. That's what I want from a console, and that's what the Steam Machine is providing. Number two, another reason people might still be interested in the Steam Machine is it's quiet. This thing is mostly heatsink. It has one single fan, and everybody who has had hands-on time with it has said it's whisper quiet. You cannot really hear this thing unless you like put your ear up to it. It's a super quiet device. Again, in the living room, that's very, very important. I cannot tell you the number of times where, like, my computer that I use to play video games is a pretty quiet machine. It's water cooled, right? But every once in a while, the fans on my GPU spin up. And why do they spin up? Because something is happening. And when they do, I get this very short, temporary whoosh sound. And every time it happens, my wife is like, what the hell is happening in here? And I'm like, oh, that's my computer doing something. Sorry about that. So that's another thing that people might really appreciate about the Steam Machine is the heatsink is huge and it's a very quiet device. And I think that is very appealing to quite a few people. Number three, Steam library. If you already have a massive Steam library and you don't like being trapped at your desk, like where I'm sitting at my desk right now, you want to be able to sit on a couch, sit back and play a game instead of always sitting forward to play a game, a box that you hook up to your TV is something that is very appealing, especially if that box is small and quiet. You see where I'm going with this? The Steam Machine is a really good model for that. That being said, there are other options, and we'll talk about those options in a little bit. Number four, and I think this one is a little less tangible than the others, is the fact that this is a first-party device. It is the device that is made by the company that makes the software that you are running. Because of that, Apple has this old adage that they used to trot out almost every single time. They always would say, if you want to have really great software, control your hardware. Valve controlling the hardware and the software means that it's going to work really, really well together. And because this machine is something that everybody knows it is a known target, that means that developers are going to target that machine to make sure that their games are running well. Now, why would they do that? Because Valve has the verified program, and the verified program allows Valve to highlight games that work very well on their hardware. Developers and publishers, they want to be on that list because it's a subset of the store that people who buy this thing are going to click on. They're going to say, oh, look at that. It says great on machine. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to tell me all the games that I know is going to work great on the Steam machine. Now, I have been a very severe critic of the Steam Deck verified program. I definitely think that there's room for improvement there, and I hope that Valve improves it with the Steam Machine verified program and, of course, the Steam Frame verified program. But if you are a developer and you want to make sure that your game gets seen by people, then getting it basically on this separate page that's separated from all the games that are not optimized for the Steam machine, that's something that you're probably going to want to do. So I think that people want to have the Steam machine so that they can say, I know how this game works on my hardware because it's not just a PC, it's also a console. And then number 5, the Steam machine doesn't have subscriptions. You don't have to subscribe to play online. On Xbox, on Nintendo, on PlayStation, you have to subscribe to play online. I did a little math earlier. The PS5 has been out for 66 months. If you buy the cheapest version of PSN and you subscribe to it on a year-by-year basis, so you're getting the best absolute deal that you can, that comes out to roughly $7 per month. 66 months times $7 per month comes up to $460. And that is a price that you are going to continue to pay over time. So as time goes on, that number, that $460 that you've already paid if you've had your PlayStation since launch, that number is going to continue to go up. The Steam machine doesn't have subscriptions. You do not have to pay a subscription to get online backups. You do not have to pay a subscription to play your games online. All of that stuff is, you don't have to pay a subscription for voice chat. All of that stuff is just included with the Steam machine. You never have to pay for it. And sure, the Steam machine is $1,050. And once you pay that, then you're done paying new money on your Steam machine. I think that having a PlayStation 5, which sold for $500 at first and then an added $460, that still doesn't add up to the price of a Steam machine. Well, in a few months, it will add up to the price of a Steam machine, and you will still be paying. So the total cost of ownership of a PlayStation or an Xbox or a Nintendo Switch continually goes up unless you don't subscribe to those things. Whereas a Steam machine, you pay it once and then you're done. You don't have to pay any more. So when you look at the Steam machine and you're trying to decide whether or not you would still want it at a price of $1,050, then I think that you have to ask yourself a couple of things. Do you care whether or not you're playing on an open platform? Do you want to build one yourself? And if the answer to those two questions leads you to the Steam machine, well, then $1,050 is what you're going to pay. I personally think that for me, $1,050 is too much for a Steam machine, but that's really only because I already have a machine that can do more than that. I think that if you went out and you found a similarly spec'd pre-built machine, you would probably pay a similar price. In fact, I posted this on my YouTube channel yesterday. Let me see if I can bring it up. In fact, I asked a bunch of you, what are some pre-built machines that you can find out there on the internet and that are comparatively either the same price as the Steam machine or the same power as the Steam machine. And I got like 100 comments back already of people that are giving that information out. I'm not going to go through the whole thing here in this video, but I will leave a link to that post down below. So if you are looking for another device that you could possibly buy and then install SteamOS on instead of getting a Steam machine, you'll have access to that. And then the last thing that I want to talk about today is the Steam frame. A lot of people were assuming that the Steam frame and the Steam machine would come out at the same time. Turns out that they didn't. The Steam frame, still, we don't know when that is happening, and we don't know the price of that thing. I did see somebody on the Steam frame subreddit found a picture of Linus from Linus Tech Tips, and he had like a mark on his head that looked like the kind of mark that you would have on your head if you were just playing a VR game. So my guess is that it might be possible that we will see the full review of the Steam frame relatively soon, and then the price for that released as well. But if the Steam machine price is any indicator, I think we're also going to be looking at a very expensive Steam frame. Now, when Valve first announced the Steam frame, they said it's not going to be costing more than the Valve Index, which was $999. So that meant to me that they were expecting that the Steam frame would cost $999. And in fact, the Steam frame has something that the Valve Index never did. It has the ability to just play the game straight on that device and not need a computer at all, which really does drive up the cost. So if Valve was already targeting $999, then I'm thinking that the Steam frame is probably going to be about $1,500 based on the price increases that we've seen in the last 7 months. I don't have any inside information here. Valve is not talking to me about the Steam machine or Steam frame. This is just my guess. But I really want to know, what do you think that the Steam frame is going to cost? And we didn't hear anything about Half-Life. Is it going to come with Half-Life 3? Is Half-Life 3 going to be a VR game, or is it going to be a game that is a flat game? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. From the Nerd Nest, I'm Bill. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Stay rad, everybody.